Decide now to give yourself a clear plan for the next 90 days and watch how focused action changes your life. Wake up with steady energy, notice the cool morning light on your face, feel your breath slow, and know the first thing you must do. This audiobook shows practical steps for mornings, strong habits, clearer thinking, better priorities, tougher resilience, calm emotions, steady learning, deeper connections, healthier living, and honest reflection. Each idea is short, simple, and ready to use, so you can try it today and see a result by tomorrow. You will hear exact routines to protect your attention, clear ways to beat doubt, and simple rules for turning small efforts into real progress. Expect honest advice, not slogans, and clear actions, not long theory. Stay through the whole audio to get the 90-day plan that ties every piece together and gives one focused path to follow. Commit to the next 90 days, and you will notice more calm, more clarity, and more forward movement in your life. Chapter 19. Transform your mornings to maximize energy and focus daily. When you wake up in the morning, the first hours of your day shape the rest of your life more than you might realize. The mind is quiet, the world is still, and your thoughts are more open to direction. If you start the morning with confusion, distraction, or rushing, that feeling often follows you like a shadow. But if you begin with intention, calm focus, and simple structure, you give yourself a strong foundation to stand on. Your morning is not about doing many things. It is about doing the right things. Many people believe success comes from working harder and staying busy all day. In reality, long-term progress comes from how you prepare your mind and body before the noise of the world reaches you. Discipline begins when nobody is watching. The first victory of the day happens when you choose control over chaos inside your own life. When you wake up, resist the urge to immediately check your phone. The screen is designed to pull your attention away from your own thoughts. If the first thing you see is social media or random information, your mind begins reacting instead of thinking. Your energy becomes scattered before you even know what you want from the day. Instead, take a moment to sit quietly after waking. Feel the weight of your body on the bed or chair. Notice your breathing without trying to change it. You are not trying to reach enlightenment or follow complicated meditation rules. You are simply giving your mind a short moment to wake up slowly. Think about one purpose for today, not 10 goals, not a long list of expectations, just one meaningful direction you want your day to follow. Your morning should begin with hydration. Your body spent hours resting and repairing itself during sleep. When you drink a glass of water after waking, you are telling your body that the day has started. This simple action helps blood circulation and mental alertness. Do not rush this step. Drink slowly. Feel the refreshment spreading inside your system as if your body is turning on from sleep mode into active mode. After drinking water, move your body gently. You do not need intense exercise immediately after waking unless you are already trained for it. Stretch your arms, move your shoulders, walk slowly around your room, or breathe deeply while standing near a window. Morning movement is not about burning calories. It is about awakening your muscles and sending a message to your brain that today is a day of action. Sunlight is one of the most natural signals your body understands. If possible, stand near morning sunlight for a few minutes. Light entering your eyes helps regulate your internal rhythm and improves alertness throughout the day. You are not chasing sunlight like a ritual. You are simply aligning your body with the natural world around you. Humans were not built to live inside darkness for long periods during the day. After waking your body, wake your mind. Choose one learning activity for the morning. This could be reading a few pages of a book, listening to educational audio, or reviewing something you want to master. Do not try to consume too much information. 10 to 20 minutes of focused learning is enough. The purpose is not speed. The purpose is consistency. Knowledge grows slowly but becomes powerful over time when it is visited every day. While learning, remove the pressure of becoming perfect immediately. Many people stop learning because they expect instant understanding. Real growth comes from repeated exposure. If you read one small section of useful information every morning for 90 days, your thinking will change more than you expect. Your mind begins storing patterns of wisdom without forcing them. Plan your work before the day becomes noisy. Write 3 important tasks that must be completed today. Not 10, not 15, only 3. Ask yourself which tasks will move your life forward if they are finished today. One task might be related to your work or career. Another might be related to personal development. The third might be something that removes a small burden from your future. These 3 tasks should follow the rule of importance rather than urgency. Urgent tasks are often things that shout loudly. Important tasks are the ones that quietly build your future, even if nobody praises you for doing them. When you start working on your first task, give it full attention for a short period. Try working in focused blocks of time. For example, concentrate deeply for 20 or 30 minutes without checking messages or switching activities. If your mind wants distraction, observe that feeling without obeying it immediately. Discipline is not about eliminating distraction completely. Discipline is about choosing your focus even when distraction is available. Your energy during the morning is valuable because your willpower is usually strongest early in the day. Later in the afternoon and evening, mental fatigue often appears. That is why important work should be placed in the morning whenever possible. You are not trying to be busy. You are trying to be effective. Speak carefully to yourself during morning hours. The words you repeat inside your mind influence your confidence and behavior. Avoid negative self-judgment when you make small mistakes. Instead of thinking, "I am not good enough," replace it with, "I am still learning and improving." Your morning thoughts should be calm, practical, and responsible. Do not allow fear about the future to dominate your first hours. The future is built by small actions repeated today. If you focus too much on uncertainty, your mind wastes energy imagining problems that may never happen. Eat your morning meal with awareness. Do not rush eating as if it is a task you want to finish quickly. Your food is fuel for your body and brain. Choose simple, nutritious meals that keep your energy stable rather than foods that create sudden energy spikes followed by tiredness. Avoid starting your day with excessive entertainment consumption. Entertainment is not harmful when used wisely, but using it immediately after waking reduces your ability to control attention. Think of entertainment as a reward, not a starting activity. During your morning routine, practice gratitude quietly. Think about 3 things that are working well in your life. They do not need to be big achievements. You can be thankful for health, opportunity, or even the ability to try again after past mistakes. Gratitude reduces unnecessary stress and helps the mind stay balanced. Remember that mornings are not meant to feel rushed. Many people live as if the morning is something to survive instead of something to shape. If you move slowly but with purpose, your day becomes more stable. Speed without direction creates anxiety. Direction with calm movement creates confidence. If something unexpected interrupts your morning plan, do not panic. Adaptation is part of discipline. Life will rarely follow a perfect schedule. What matters is maintaining the intention behind your actions rather than forcing every step to remain unchanged. Your mood in the morning is partly influenced by your preparation the night before. Sleep at a reasonable time when possible. Reduce late night exposure to bright screens because it affects rest quality. Good mornings are often built during the previous night through small decisions. You are training your future self through this routine. Imagine the version of you 90 days from now. That person is not suddenly successful by luck. That person is the result of choosing consistency every morning, even when motivation is low. Motivation changes like weather. Discipline stays like the ground beneath your feet. Some mornings you will wake up excited. Some mornings you will feel tired or unsure. Do not wait for motivation before starting your routine. Begin anyway with simple actions. If you feel mentally heavy in the morning, do one small productive action first. Make your bed, drink water, read 1 page, complete 1 small task. Momentum begins with movement. The mind often follows the body. You are not trying to transform your life in 1 morning. You are trying to transform your life by protecting many mornings in a row. Think of each day as a single stone added to a structure you are building. 1 stone may seem small, but hundreds of stones create something strong and lasting. The next 90 days are not about perfection. They are about direction. If you miss a morning routine one day, return the next day without guilt. Discipline is not punishment. Discipline is the decision to continue even after mistakes. Treat your morning as a preparation period for your life's work. You are preparing your mind, body, and attention before facing the world. When you start your day with clarity, you reduce unnecessary stress later. Remember that energy follows attention. What you focus on in the morning grows stronger inside your experience. If you focus on learning, improvement, and meaningful action, those areas of your life will slowly expand. Never underestimate the power of small morning habits repeated over time. 90 days may seem short, but when lived with discipline, 90 days can change the direction of your thinking. You may not notice the change every single day. Growth is often quiet. Stay patient with yourself. Personal growth is not a race. Some people move faster, some slower, but consistency matters more than speed. You are building a life pattern, not proving anything to anyone. When you finish your morning routine, carry calm confidence into the rest of your day. You do not need to announce your discipline to others. Real strength is quiet. It shows through your decisions, your patience, and your steady progress. Walk into your responsibilities knowing that you have already won the first battle of the day by controlling your morning. Protect your attention. Respect your time. Choose actions that move your life forward. If you follow this simple morning structure for the next 90 days, you will begin noticing subtle changes. You may think more clearly. You may feel more stable emotionally. You may work with greater purpose. The transformation will not feel sudden, but it will feel real. Your life is shaped by repeated choices. Choose mornings that prepare you to live with intention. Choose discipline when motivation is absent. Choose learning over distraction. Choose calm focus over chaotic rushing. Start tomorrow morning with one decision. Wake up and act with purpose before the world demands your attention. Do it again the next day, and the day after that. In 90 days, you will not be a completely different person, but you will be a stronger, clearer, more disciplined version of yourself who understands that real success is built one morning at a time. Chapter 20. Build strong habits that improve your life consistently now. Decide right now to build habits that protect your time, strengthen your will, and change your life. Start by choosing one small habit that matters and commit to it for the next 90 days. Pick something specific and measurable like reading 10 pages each day, writing for 15 minutes, walking 20 minutes, or preparing one healthy meal. Small habits win because they remove the excuse that you do not have enough time or energy. When a habit is small, it is easier to begin and easier to repeat. Repeatability is the real power behind lasting change. Create a clear cue that signals the start of the habit. A cue can be a location, a time of day, a song, or a daily action you already perform. If you decide to read after breakfast, place your book on the table before you go to bed. If you choose to walk, then lay out your shoes beside the bed. The cue should be obvious and hard to miss, so the habit requires less mental effort to start. Fewer decisions mean fewer chances to stall. Design the routine so it fits into your life, and not the other way around. A habit that demands an hour of focused time from the beginning often fails. Begin with a routine that takes 5 to 15 minutes and do it every single day. Over time, increase the length or the intensity, but always preserve consistency first. The point is to create momentum, not to prove how much you can do on day one. Attach a small immediate reward to the routine. The reward does not need to be indulgent. It can be a single check mark on a calendar, the satisfaction of closing a journal, or a brief pause to breathe and notice the result. Immediate feedback trains your brain to expect a positive outcome and makes the habit more likely to continue. Use a visible tracker like a wall calendar, a habit app, or a simple notebook to mark completion. Seeing progress produces motivation that builds quietly day after day. Practice habit stacking by placing a new behavior directly after an existing one. After brushing your teeth, do 3 minutes of mindful breathing. After your morning coffee, write one sentence. When new habits are linked to established routines, they take less conscious energy to maintain. This method reduces friction and fits new practices into the structure you already use. Reduce friction for actions you want to keep and increase friction for actions you want to drop. Put healthy snacks at eye level and hide unhealthy ones in hard-to-reach places. Remove notification sounds and place distracting devices in another room during focus blocks. Small adjustments to your environment change the outcome of your decisions without requiring constant willpower. Arrange your space so the easiest choice is the right choice. Use implementation intentions to plan exactly when, where, and how you will perform a habit. Instead of saying, "I will exercise more," say, "I will walk for 20 minutes at 7 a.m. after breakfast around the block." Specific plans remove ambiguity and turn vague hopes into actual commitments. State the plan aloud and write it down to make it feel real. Track effort and reflect weekly. At the end of each week, review what worked, what failed, and why. Be honest and practical. If a habit did not stick, examine the obstacles and change the plan rather than giving up. Adjust the cue, the timing, the reward, or the routine. Small course corrections preserve the overall commitment while allowing the method to improve. Adopt the identity-first approach. Instead of focusing only on outcomes, say, "I am a person who reads daily," or "I am someone who takes care of my body." Identity-based habits align your actions with who you want to become. Each small success reinforces that identity and makes future choices easier. Belief follows behavior when behavior is consistent. Use a habit contract when accountability is necessary. Tell a trusted friend or partner what you plan to do, ask them to check in, and agree on a simple consequence for failure. A signed agreement, a small wager, or a public declaration increases the cost of quitting and strengthens follow-through. External accountability complements internal resolve and helps when motivation wavers. Accept that discomfort is part of growth and do not confuse short-term difficulty with failure. There will be mornings when the body resists and evenings when energy runs low. The difference between someone who keeps improving and someone who drifts is persistence through ordinary discomfort. Commit to showing up even when it is not easy and treat missed days as data rather than defeat. Make the habit meaningful by connecting it to a larger purpose. Ask why this habit matters and how it contributes to a life you respect. When the reason is clear, the habit becomes more than a task. It becomes a deliberate choice to invest in your capacity and your future. Purpose makes repetition fulfilling rather than boring. Break habits down when complexity threatens progress. If learning a new skill seems overwhelming, choose micro-tasks that can be completed in short, focused bursts. Mastery is the accumulation of many small improvements, not a sudden leap. Celebrate finishing each micro-task because completion produces confidence and momentum. Plan for temptation and routine disruption. Life will bring interruptions, travel, illness, and busy weeks. Create a backup plan, such as a shorter version of the habit or an alternative time of day. If walking in the morning is impossible, commit to 10 minutes of movement indoors. A flexible blueprint keeps the habit alive through life rather than ending it at the first obstacle. Use positive, precise language when describing your habit. Say, "I will write for 15 minutes after dinner," rather than "I need to stop wasting time." Clear declarative statements reduce mental resistance and create a sense of control. The brain responds to clarity. Protect your focus by time boxing important habits. Allocate a specific block of time and remove distractions during that window. Silence notifications, close tabs, and use a timer. Focus is a muscle that strengthens with practice. When you protect time for the habit, you signal that the action is a priority rather than an optional extra. Build one habit at a time, or two at most, so your willpower is not spread thin. Human energy is limited, and trying to overhaul everything at once often leads to half-finished routines. A single strong habit established for 90 days provides far greater results than many half-maintained efforts. Once one habit is secure, add another that complements it. Notice how small wins influence mood and confidence. Completing a habit, even on a mediocre day, produces a sense of competence that carries across tasks. That feeling compounds. It becomes a quiet engine that speeds your progress without fanfare. Protect that engine by keeping the habits simple and consistent. Use negative visualization sparingly to strengthen resolve. Imagine the consequence of not maintaining the habit for a short period and how that would affect other areas of life. This is not to create fear, but to sharpen your sense of priority so that the habit gains weight in your daily choices. Practice kindness toward yourself when the routine breaks. Harsh self-blame amplifies avoidance and lowers the likelihood of re-engagement. Speak to yourself as a coach guiding a team member toward improvement. Offer clear feedback and a plan for the next attempt. The next action is the only true measure of progress. Commit to measurable markers, not vague promises. Track minutes, pages, steps, or repetitions. Numerical markers reduce ambiguity and allow honest assessment. When progress is visible, you can refine targets and stay motivated with realistic milestones. Integrate rest and recovery into the habit plan. Growth requires cycles of effort and repair. Honor sleep, plan recovery days, and listen to physical signals when rest is required. Sustainable habits respect human limits rather than pushing beyond what is manageable. Use the power of ritual to strengthen repetition. A short pray habit sequence such as making a cup of tea or 5 deep breaths prepares mind and body to act. Rituals mark the transition and make the action feel deliberate. Repetition of small rituals builds consistency through predictability. Focus on the why, the how, and the when before worrying about the outcome. Good processes produce reliable results when repeated. Invest in the structure and the results will follow with time. End every week with a simple victory ritual. Note progress, acknowledge effort, and plan the next week with realistic adjustments. A ritual that honors consistency reinforces identity and closes the loop between intention and action. Over time, the ritual itself becomes a component of the habit system. Commit to this method for 90 days and measure the compound effect. Small daily actions build an outcome that would be difficult to achieve through sudden effort alone. Keep the work simple, keep the structure firm, and keep returning after slips. The greatest transformation for most people is not dramatic change, but steady improvement applied day after day. Chapter 3: Master your mindset to overcome fear and self-doubt. Your mind is the most powerful tool shaping your life, and fear only grows when you allow unchallenged thoughts to live inside your head. Fear is rarely built on truth. It is usually built on imagined outcomes, past experiences, or uncertainty about the future. Self-doubt speaks quietly but can control your decisions if you do not learn how to answer it with reason and discipline. The first step to mastering your mindset is learning to observe your thoughts without automatically believing them. Many people treat every thought as if it is a command. When a negative thought appears, pause for a moment before reacting. Ask yourself whether this thought is based on evidence or only emotional pressure. You are not required to obey every message your mind produces. Thoughts are visitors. You decide which ones stay. Fear often appears when you are about to attempt something meaningful. Growth and discomfort usually walk together. If you wait for fear to disappear before taking action, you may wait forever. Courage is not the absence of fear. Courage is the decision to move forward while fear is still present. Think of fear as a signal that you are facing something important rather than something dangerous. Train your mind to separate possibility from probability. Your imagination can create many scenarios, but most of them will never happen. Instead of asking what could go wrong in every situation, focus on what is most likely to happen if you prepare properly and act with patience. Replace catastrophic thinking with practical thinking. Control self-doubt by questioning its logic. When your inner voice says you are not good enough, respond calmly by asking why that statement must be true. Look at your past experiences for evidence of improvement and learning. You may not be perfect, but perfection is not the requirement for progress. Competence grows through repeated effort and reflection. Stop comparing your life with others when you are trying to build confidence. Every person carries a different history, environment, and set of opportunities. Social comparison often distorts reality because you usually see only the success moments of others, not their struggle or preparation. Focus on improving your own standard rather than measuring yourself against someone else's highlight moments. Practice speaking to yourself with respect and patience. The way you talk inside your mind influences your emotional strength. Replace harsh self-criticism with constructive guidance. If you make a mistake, treat it as information showing where you need improvement. Learning from errors is more useful than punishing yourself emotionally. Write down your fears once in a while. Put them on paper instead of keeping them trapped inside your mind. When fear is written clearly, it becomes smaller and more manageable. You may notice that many fears are vague. Turning them into words forces your brain to examine whether they are realistic or exaggerated. Focus on actions rather than emotional certainty. Confidence is not something you must feel before starting. Confidence often appears after you begin working. Action teaches the mind that you are capable of handling uncertainty. Every small success becomes evidence that you can survive challenges. Practice controlled exposure to fear. If something makes you nervous, approach it in a small and safe way instead of avoiding it completely. Speak a little more in meetings if communication is difficult. Share one idea, even if you feel unsure. Each exposure reduces the emotional intensity of fear over time. Build a mental habit of asking what is the worst realistic outcome and whether you can survive it. Many fears become weaker when you realize the worst outcome is uncomfortable but not life-ending. This perspective helps your brain stop exaggerating danger. Develop focus on effort quality rather than external approval. If you depend too much on praise from others, your confidence will fluctuate depending on opinions outside your control. True stability comes from knowing you did your best according to your values and ability. Use breathing control when anxiety begins to rise. Slow breathing signals safety to the nervous system. Inhale gently through your nose and exhale slowly through your mouth for several cycles. Do not rush this process. Calm breathing helps reduce emotional tension and brings clarity to thinking. Accept uncertainty as a permanent part of life. You do not need complete certainty before making decisions. Waiting for perfect certainty often creates paralysis. Move forward with the best information you have today and be willing to adjust later if new information appears. Visualize yourself acting confidently rather than imagining only successful outcomes. Imagine walking into a situation with steady posture, clear voice, and calm attention. Mental rehearsal helps the brain become familiar with the behavior you want to express in real life. Set boundaries against negative information that enters your mind unnecessarily. Limit exposure to content or conversations that increase unnecessary worry or pessimism. Your mind environment is as important as your physical environment. Develop a philosophy of learning rather than a philosophy of avoiding failure. View challenges as training opportunities that strengthen emotional endurance. Every difficulty you survive increases your capacity to handle future uncertainty. When doubt appears, redirect attention toward your preparation. Ask whether you have studied, practiced, or planned reasonably. If the answer is yes, then allow yourself to proceed even without emotional certainty. Remember that confidence is built through repeated proof of capability. Every completed task, every solved problem, and every moment you act despite fear contributes to stronger belief in yourself. Confidence is the memory of past successful action. Do not wait until you feel fearless to live your life. Fear will visit at different stages of growth. Your goal is not to eliminate fear completely, but to become someone who continues moving forward even when fear speaks. Focus on the present action instead of future imagination. Anxiety often lives in tomorrow's possibilities, not in today's reality. Right now you only need to take the next reasonable step. Create a habit of finishing what you start when it is realistic to do so. Leaving many tasks unfinished trains the mind to doubt your reliability to yourself. Completion strengthens self-respect and reduces inner conflict. Speak calmly and clearly when facing difficult moments. Your voice and posture influence your emotional state. Stand or sit straight, breathe steadily, and express thoughts with measured confidence. Do not treat mistakes as proof of personal weakness. Treat them as feedback from experience. Even skilled people continue learning throughout their lives. Growth does not end at a specific level of ability. Protect your mindset by choosing patience over impulsive reaction. Fear grows stronger when you respond quickly without thinking. Give yourself a small pause before making important decisions. Remember that mastery of mindset is not achieved in one day. It is built by repeated choices to think rationally, act courageously, and stay disciplined during uncertainty. Over the next 90 days, practice noticing fear without surrendering to it. When fear appears, acknowledge it, analyze it briefly, and continue moving forward. You are not trying to become a person who never feels doubt. You are trying to become a person whose actions are not controlled by doubt. Confidence is built when your behavior proves that you can act responsibly even when emotions are unstable. Every time you choose courage over avoidance, your mind becomes stronger. Keep learning, keep acting, keep observing your thoughts without being ruled by them. Your future self will thank you for the moments when you decided to move forward even while fear was still whispering inside your mind. Chapter 40. Increase productivity by prioritizing tasks that truly matter. Cut everything that distracts and commit to the one work that will change your life. Productivity is not about doing more tasks, but about choosing the right tasks and protecting the time to complete them. Clarity about what matters creates a natural filter for daily decisions and reduces the noise that eats away at your attention. When priorities are clear, your energy and effort stop scattering and begin building real results. The habit of choosing what matters requires a clear standard and a simple method you trust under pressure. Without a method, choices become random and progress becomes accidental. Begin by deciding what outcome you want to create this week and this quarter. Translate that outcome into 1 or 2 measurable goals that actually move your life forward. A goal that is vague becomes a magnet for business that looks like progress but is not. Select goals that are specific and testable so you can see real movement. When you can state the measurable result you will achieve, it becomes easier to judge whether a task is worth your time. Next, identify the critical activities that lead directly to those goals. These are the actions that, if completed regularly, will deliver the intended outcomes. List no more than 3 critical activities for each goal. Too many actions dilute effort and produce weak progress. Keep the list short so you can focus deeply rather than skim the surface of many tasks. Use a daily priority system that requires you to pick one top task before any other work begins. This should be the single most important action that moves you closer to a major result. Protect the morning or the peak energy window for this task. When you consistently complete one high-impact task, each day your momentum compounds faster than a day filled with low-value business. Adopt a simple decision rule for handling incoming requests and small tasks. If a task does not help create the result you defined this week, then delay, delegate, or delete it. Most interruptions are optional and will not matter in 90 days. Saying no to the non-essential is not selfish. It is a form of respect for the limited resource of your attention. Create time blocks that align with the intensity of the work. Reserve large uninterrupted spans for deep work that requires concentration and creativity. Reserve short blocks for administrative duties and quick communications. Structure reduces switching costs and preserves the mental energy needed for demanding tasks. Label these blocks in your calendar and treat them like appointments with an important client which you cannot cancel without valid reason. Eliminate shallow work by batching similar small tasks together. Respond to messages during a fixed window rather than throughout the day. Schedule brief admin sessions and then return to meaningful work. Batching minimizes context switching and keeps your thinking in the zone that produces results. The goal is not to avoid small tasks permanently, but to manage them in ways that do not disrupt higher priority work. Use a pre-commitment strategy to protect your priority time. Set a rule that during deep work blocks you will not check email and you will turn off notifications. Close irrelevant browser tabs and place your phone out of reach. Small barriers prevent impulsive behaviors and preserve the integrity of the time you set aside for important work. Measure progress with outcome indicators rather than time spent. Track the output or the milestone reached and review it weekly. Time is not the same as progress. 2 hours of unfocused work can be less effective than 30 minutes of focused action. When measurement focuses on results, you learn to optimize for outcome, not for business. Cultivate the discipline of starting difficult tasks immediately after a brief preparation period. Reduce the time you spend deciding to begin by having a short ritual that signals the start of work. A ritual might be a moment of breath, a quick review of the goal, or a single outline sentence that begins the task. Rituals remove hesitation and create a predictable entry into concentration. Recognize energy rhythms and schedule according to them. Most people have natural cycles of high and low energy across the day. Place your most demanding tasks inside the high-energy windows and reserve lower-effort tasks for the trows. Respecting your biological rhythm improves quality of work and reduces forced willpower expenditure. Practice ruthless prioritization when deadlines conflict. Ask which task has the largest long-term consequence and place it first. When two tasks compete, use the one that generates future optionality or the one that prevents the most risk. Prioritization is a moral act because it chooses which commitments you will honor and which you will decline. Use short accountability rituals to maintain momentum. Share a daily top task with a colleague or a friend and report completion at the end of the day. Public small commitments increase follow-through and create gentle pressure to perform consistently. Accountability need not be dramatic to be effective. Small, consistent reporting stabilizes behavior. Limit planning overhead. Planning fuels clarity, but excessive planning becomes another form of doing nothing. Decide on the plan, then execute. A short, realistic plan that is implemented beats a perfect plan that never leaves the desk. Keep plans lean and focused on the few steps that matter most. Build a buffer for unexpected high-priority work by including a daily margin of unscheduled time. This margin prevents the rest of your schedule from collapsing when urgent items appear. If the margin is unused at the end of the day, consider investing it in skill growth or reflection. A buffer provides resilience without sacrificing focus. Develop an elimination mindset for tasks that create little value. Periodically ask what you can stop doing that would free time for higher priority activities. Eliminating low-value commitments has the same effect as adding more hours to your day. Removing obligations often yields clearer energy than adding new productivity techniques. Refine your to-do list into a committed list that contains only work you intend to finish. Distinguish between ideas and commitments. A committed list should be short and actionable. When an item becomes a commitment, give it a due date and a clear next step. Vague entries are anchors that slow progress. Practice the one-touch rule for small inputs. If a task can be completed in less than 2 minutes, do it immediately. This rule prevents small tasks from accumulating and creating cognitive load. Quickly processing minor items restores clarity and leaves space for deeper work. Learn to delegate effectively by specifying the desired outcome and the constraints clearly. Delegation is not abdication. A task delegated without clear expectations often returns half-finished and wastes more time. When assigning work, provide a clear objective, a deadline, and the authority needed to complete the task. Use a brief end-of-day review to close the loop. Check what was completed, adjust the plan for the next day, and identify any obstacles that require structural change. This ritual prevents the accumulation of unfinished work and prepares the mind for a focused start tomorrow. Closing the day reduces mental residue and improves next day launch quality. Create environmental supports that make the important work easier to begin. Arrange your workspace so the tools you need are ready and visible. Remove visual clutter and distractions that prime the brain to wander. A prepared environment lowers the threshold for starting and strengthens the habit of doing meaningful work. Invest in skill improvement for the tasks that matter most. Increasing your capability reduces the time required and improves the quality of outcomes. Focus learning on high-leverage skills that directly support your goals rather than random knowledge that offers marginal returns. Avoid constant context switching by grouping related projects together and completing one set before moving to another. Multitasking divides attention and reduces the depth of insight you can achieve. Deep progress occurs when attention concentrates on a single domain for a sustained period. Keep communication concise and purposeful. When sending messages, state the desired decision, the proposed solution, and the timeline. Clear communication prevents lengthy back and forth and reduces coordination costs. Efficient interaction preserves time for focused outcomes. Protect personal time as a non-negotiable boundary because rest is essential for sustained productivity. Work without adequate recovery leads to errors and shrinking focus. Schedule restorative periods that recharge attention and prevent burnout. Use constraint-driven focus to intensify work. Impose a time limit or a resource cap that forces decisions and prioritization. Constraints create clarity because they require choosing the few things that will be done well rather than many things done poorly. Finally, commit to a continuous improvement loop that reviews priorities monthly and adjusts based on outcomes. Priorities evolve and must be revisited with honest assessment. Regularly pruning and refining the list of what matters keeps your work aligned with the life you intend to lead. When you consistently apply these principles, you will notice your days become quieter and your results more visible. Productivity is a skill learned through practice and discipline, not a natural gift. Guard the few actions that truly matter and your life will follow the direction you choose. Chapter 50. Strengthen resilience to handle challenges and stay persistent. Stand firm in the face of difficulty and use every obstacle as the soil for stronger resolve. Resilience is not a trait you either have or lack, but a set of practices you can strengthen through intentional effort. When life applies pressure, you can choose how you respond, and over time those responses become reliable habits that protect your purpose. Building endurance for hardship begins with small, consistent actions that shape how your mind and body react under stress. This work is quiet and steady, and it produces a kind of strength that shows up when details matter most. Start by learning to separate what you can influence from what you cannot change. A clear boundary between controllable steps and outside circumstances reduces wasted worry and focuses energy where it produces actual results. Make a short list of elements in a difficult situation that are actionable and then commit to working on those elements. When attention moves to specific tasks, the feeling of overwhelm shrinks because action replaces rumination. Practice emotional calibration so feelings do not dictate decisions. Notice the early signs of stress, such as shallow breath, tight muscles, or hurried thought, and use a single calming technique to reset. Slow deep breathing for 3 cycles, progressive muscle relaxation for a minute, or a short walk around the block helps interrupt escalating emotion. The goal is not to suppress feeling, but to choose rational behavior in spite of it. Habitual regulation of feeling makes it easier to maintain steady effort when challenges persist. Develop a routine that intentionally exposes you to manageable discomfort. That could be cold showers for a short period, bodyweight training that pushes your limits, or speaking in small groups to expand confidence. These exposures are not about dramatics, but about training your nervous system to recover quickly from stress. When minor discomfort becomes familiar, larger strains lose some of their power to paralyze you. Create a plan for predictable setbacks before they happen. For any significant goal, write 3 probable obstacles and a straightforward contingency for each one. When a setback arrives, you will avoid panicked improvisation and move immediately to the already decided next step. Prepared responses shorten recovery time and preserve momentum. Shift how you narrate failure inside your mind. Replace harsh labeling with precise observation, such as noting the decision made, the result obtained, and one change to try next. This turns disappointments into a technical problem to solve rather than a moral verdict about your value. That mindset reduces fear of trying again and increases the likelihood you will refine and persist. Protect physical resilience because the body supports the mind. Prioritize consistent sleep, regular movement, and balanced nutrition even on busy days. Recovery is not optional work that can be postponed indefinitely. Poor rest and bodily neglect accelerate emotional reactivity and reduce problem-solving capacity. When physical foundations are stable, mental recovery becomes quicker and tougher challenges feel less draining. Build social supports that are practical and immediate. Identify 2 or 3 people you can contact when things are difficult and tell them the best way they can help, whether it is listening, offering perspective, or helping with a specific task. A prepared support network shortens the distance between trouble and relief and prevents isolation, which magnifies strain. Use time boxing during crises to prevent small problems from consuming your entire day. Allocate a fixed short block to address the issue with focused attention, then move to an unrelated restorative activity. This preserves cognitive energy and reduces the tendency to fixate endlessly on concerns. Scheduled focus followed by recovery keeps fatigue from accumulating. Practice small daily wins so confidence compounds. Choose modest tasks that are within reach and complete them reliably. Each finished item creates proof that effort leads to results, and that gentle persistence produces forward movement. The accumulation of these successes quietly strengthens self-trust and reduces the power of discouragement. Adopt a disciplined habit of reviewing what went wrong and what went right after stressful events. Write 1 sentence about what you learned and 1 concrete adjustment to try next time. This short ritual encodes lessons quickly and prevents repeating avoidable mistakes. Over time, your response set becomes leaner and more effective because learning is prioritized over blame. Train yourself to reframe setbacks in terms of long-term trajectory instead of immediate interruption. Ask how the event will matter in a year or 5 years, and use that perspective to choose responses that align with durable goals. Many problems that feel catastrophic in the moment are minor blips when viewed against a longer timeline. That view reduces panic and helps select constructive actions. Practice intentional rest as part of resilience, not as its opposite. Schedule short breaks during intense periods and ensure at least 1 restful evening each week. Recharge rituals might include a walk without devices, a nourishing meal, or reading something that restores curiosity. Recovery preserves the capacity to engage again and makes effort sustainable rather than frantic. Cultivate a practical optimism anchored in readiness. Hope without preparation invites disappointment, and preparation without hope becomes grinding. Combine realistic assessment with clear action plans, so belief in the future is backed by daily work. This blend keeps morale steady and makes persistence credible. Limit exposure to sources that amplify anxiety without offering solutions. Repeated consumption of negative noise trains the mind to expect disaster and reduces available attention for problem solving. Choose information that informs decisions rather than fuels fear, and give yourself windows of unplugged time to restore clarity. Practice saying no to tasks and commitments that drain resources without contributing to core priorities. Preserving attention and energy is an act of resilience because it prevents unnecessary overload. Regular pruning of obligations creates margin for recovery and better response when genuine crises arrive. Use concrete language when planning recovery steps after a setback. Replace vague intentions with specific actions, such as call person X by Friday, review document Y for 30 minutes, or sleep 7 hours 3 nights this week. Clarity in the plan shortens indecision and speeds return to productive states. Anchor daily work in a clear purpose that frames endurance as meaningful. When difficulty connects to something larger, it is easier to accept sacrifice and to keep moving forward during tedium. Purpose functions like a compass that helps you choose which struggles are worth enduring and which are not aligned with the life you intend to lead. Practice consistency more than intensity. Small, steady effort repeated daily builds a foundation stronger than occasional heroic pushes. Regularity produces habits, and habits reduce the mental cost of action. When persistence becomes normal, you rely on systems rather than rare bursts of willpower. Prepare mental mantras that are short, direct, and action-oriented to use when frustration grows. Phrases such as "I will do the next useful thing" or "focus on the task at hand" can quickly redirect attention to practical steps. These mantras are cues that shorten distraction and return you to productive behavior. Keep a visible record of recoveries and progress so you can remind yourself of past successes when current difficulty feels overwhelming. A simple list of challenges overcome and the actions that solved them reminds you that recovery is possible and has already occurred. Memory of past resilience strengthens present courage. Accept that endurance is developed through steady exposure to difficulty and through thoughtful recovery afterward. Avoid the temptation to rush the process or to expect immediate change. Persistence compounds slowly, and the most reliable growth appears after repeated modest efforts. During the next 3 months, commit to one resilience practice and perform it daily while tracking results. Choose something measurable, such as a short recovery breathing routine, a 5-minute reflection journal, or a physical training plan, and record completion. This simple commitment produces evidence that steady, disciplined action builds stronger capacity to withstand life's demands. Finish each day by noting one way you responded well and one area where improvement is possible. This practice closes the loop between effort and learning and prepares you for a more effective next day. Over time, your responses will become calmer, faster, and more intentional because small adjustments accumulate into durable mental strength. Chapter 6. Develop emotional control to respond calmly under pressure. Stay steady inside your mind when pressure rises and choose response over reaction in every difficult moment. Emotional control is the ability to create a small space between stimulus and response where thinking happens before action. Most people react instantly when they feel anger, frustration, or anxiety, and that reaction often makes problems larger. Learning to stay calm under pressure is not about suppressing emotion, but about guiding it toward constructive behavior. The mind can be trained to pause before responding, allowing reason to influence choice instead of impulse. When pressure appears, begin by slowing your breathing without drawing attention to it. Take a gentle inhale through your nose and release the air slowly through your mouth. Repeat this several times while keeping your posture relaxed but upright. This simple physical adjustment sends safety signals to the nervous system and reduces emotional escalation. You do not need complicated relaxation methods to regain control. Consistent practice of simple breathing regulation produces reliable calmness over time. Learn to recognize the early signs of emotional activation inside your body. Tightening shoulders, faster heartbeat, racing thoughts, or sudden irritation often appear before full emotional reaction. When you notice these signals, treat them as a warning light on a dashboard. The purpose of the signal is not to create panic, but to encourage immediate stabilization behavior, such as slowing speech, reducing movement, or pausing conversation briefly. Early awareness prevents emotional escalation. Avoid making important decisions while emotionally activated. If possible, delay major judgment calls until your emotional state returns to neutrality. Tell yourself that the issue will still exist after you regain clarity, but your ability to solve it will improve once the pressure inside your mind decreases. Emotional storms pass more quickly when you stop feeding them with immediate reaction. Practice speaking slower during stressful conversations. Speed of speech often reflects emotional intensity. When you deliberately slow your words, your brain receives feedback that the situation is under control. Choose simple and clear language rather than complicated explanations when tension is present. Direct communication reduces misunderstanding and prevents unnecessary escalation. Separate the problem from your personal identity. A difficult situation does not mean you are a failure as a person. Treat challenges as external events requiring solutions rather than as judgments about your worth. This mental separation protects self-respect and prevents emotional collapse when outcomes are unfavorable. Use curiosity as a replacement for anger during conflict. When someone says something disturbing, try asking yourself what they are trying to achieve or what experience might be influencing their behavior. Curiosity changes your emotional orientation from confrontation to understanding. You are not required to agree with others, but understanding reduces the intensity of negative emotion. Create a personal rule that discourages harsh words during temporary emotional peaks. Once something is spoken in anger, it cannot be fully erased. Train yourself to pause and evaluate whether the message you want to send is still appropriate after 30 seconds of reflection. This short waiting period often prevents regrettable communication. Accept that emotional control does not mean feeling positive all the time. You will still experience sadness, frustration, or disappointment. The goal is to prevent those feelings from controlling your behavior. Emotional mastery is demonstrated when you can continue acting responsibly even while uncomfortable feelings are present. Train your mind to focus on solutions instead of emotional narratives. When a problem appears, ask what can be done now rather than why this happened to me. The question of why can sometimes lead to endless emotional rumination. The question of what to do next moves attention toward practical recovery. Develop the habit of naming your emotion quietly inside your mind. Simply recognizing "I feel frustrated" or "I feel worried" helps reduce emotional intensity. Naming emotion creates distance between you and the feeling, allowing rational thinking to regain dominance. This technique works because the brain processes labeled emotion differently from unidentified emotional pressure. Avoid amplifying emotional energy through repetitive negative thinking. If your mind keeps replaying a disturbing event, gently redirect attention towards something constructive such as reading, walking, or focusing on a task. Do not argue with the thought aggressively. Redirect it like guiding a distracted child back to useful activity. Practice patience when others are emotionally reactive. Their reaction does not require you to mirror the same intensity. Responding calmly often weakens conflict because it removes the emotional fuel that keeps the situation growing. Calm behavior during chaos demonstrates strength without needing to prove superiority. Build tolerance for uncertainty because many stressful experiences are rooted in the fear of unknown outcomes. Instead of demanding immediate certainty, remind yourself that some situations resolve gradually. Waiting with patience while continuing constructive action is a sign of mature emotional regulation. Reduce emotional vulnerability by preparing mentally for criticism or unexpected difficulty. Expect that not everyone will agree with your decisions and that mistakes will happen occasionally. When you anticipate discomfort, you are less likely to react defensively when it occurs. Create a recovery routine after stressful encounters. Spend a few minutes alone reviewing the situation, breathing slowly, and reminding yourself that emotional reaction is temporary. This ritual helps reset internal balance and prevents emotional residue from spreading into other activities. Practice gratitude even during challenging periods. Identify one positive element in your life regardless of current difficulty. Gratitude does not deny problems but provides psychological balance that reduces anxiety intensity. Learn to detach from outcomes that are beyond your control. You can prepare, work diligently, and make reasonable decisions, but you cannot guarantee every result. Accepting this limitation removes unnecessary emotional burden and allows you to focus on effort rather than perfection. Strengthen emotional endurance by intentionally exposing yourself to small stresses and learning to remain calm. Speaking in front of small groups, handling disagreement respectfully, or completing work under mild pressure helps train emotional stability. Avoid using emotional intensity as motivation because it creates unstable productivity patterns. Work should be guided by discipline rather than bursts of anger or excitement. Stable behavior produces predictable long-term results. Write short reflections at the end of difficult days, describing how you handled emotional pressure. Focus on your response quality rather than the difficulty of the situation. This habit builds a feedback loop that gradually improves emotional behavior. Remember that emotional control is a lifelong skill rather than a one-time achievement. You will have moments of strong emotion throughout your life, but your training determines how quickly you return to balance. Continue practicing calm response under pressure for the next 90 days. When pressure appears, pause, breathe, think, and choose the most rational action available. Do not rush reaction. Choose clarity over impulse. Your strength will not be measured by how many stressful situations you avoid, but by how many difficult moments you can walk through with steady mind and controlled heart. Each calm decision under pressure is another step toward emotional mastery and inner stability. Chapter 7 Day Expand your learning by dedicating time to growth. Decide now that learning will be the steady engine of your life, and reserve time each day without compromise. Growth is not an accidental byproduct of busy days, but a deliberate investment that requires scheduling, protecting, and practicing with intention. When learning is treated like a negotiable option, it drifts to the bottom of your priorities. When it is treated as a scheduled responsibility, it begins to shape who you become. Commit to a clear daily window dedicated only to growth and protect that window as if it were an essential appointment with your future self. Begin by choosing one concrete skill or subject to focus on for the next 90 days. Narrow focus beats scattered curiosity because depth builds competence faster than shallow familiarity with many topics. Select something that matters to your goals or that stretches your current limits and write down the specific ability you want to demonstrate at the end of this period. A precise target converts vague desire into measurable progress. Break that skill into small, manageable units that can be practiced deliberately. Identify the core components that produce the most meaningful change and practice those repeatedly. Practice should be intentional, not passive. Passive reading or casual exposure rarely produces mastery. Design brief, focused drills that challenge the edge of your current skill and repeat them often until performance improves. Schedule short, high-quality learning sessions rather than long, unfocused stretches. 40 to 60 minutes of undistracted study or practice often outperforms 3 hours of fragmented attention. During each session, remove interruptions, create a minimal setup, and concentrate on one clear objective. Use a simple timer if it helps to create urgency and structure. Consistent, focused effort compounds more predictably than sporadic marathon efforts. Mix study with active retrieval rather than relying only on rereading information. Test yourself, recall main points, explain ideas aloud, or write summaries from memory. Retrieving information strengthens memory more effectively than passively reviewing material. Challenge yourself with questions or small quizzes that force the brain to reconstruct knowledge rather than simply recognize it. Use spaced repetition to revisit core ideas at increasing intervals. Repetition across time cements learning in a way that massed study does not. Build a simple schedule to review critical concepts after a day, a week, and a month. This approach prevents forgetting and makes each review session more efficient because you focus on what still needs reinforcement. Apply what you learn immediately in practical ways. Knowledge that is never used remains shallow. Find small projects, exercises, or real problems where you can use new ideas. Application creates feedback and reveals gaps in understanding quickly so adjustments can be made. Practical use turns learning into useful capability rather than information stored without purpose. Adopt a habit of explaining concepts to someone else, even if that person is an imagined audience or a recorded voice. Teaching forces clarity and reveals missing pieces in your own understanding. When you can explain something simply, you have reached a deeper level of mastery than mere familiarity allows. Use varied sources to build a multi-perspective view, but avoid consuming only summaries. Read primary material, listen to thoughtful lectures, and practice hands-on tasks. Different formats reinforce understanding and prevent over-reliance on the same viewpoint. Seek sources that challenge your current assumptions rather than those that simply confirm what you already believe. Create a reliable note-taking system that you actually use. Notes should capture ideas in your own words and include clear links to where you first encountered them and why they matter. Organize notes around questions, projects, or problems so retrieval becomes straightforward when you need to apply what you learned. A good system turns scattered insights into a resource you can return to and refine. Set measurable short-term milestones and celebrate completion of each one. Milestones should be specific, such as finishing a course module, completing a small project, or presenting your work to a peer. Celebrating progress is not indulgent, it is motivational. Small wins provide evidence that effort produces change and keep momentum alive during inevitable slow periods. Build a weekly learning ritual that reviews progress, plans the next steps, and refines priorities. At the end of each week, note what improved, what failed, and what you will focus on next week. Use that ritual to prune ineffective sources and double down on practices that produce results. Regular review shortens the learning loop and accelerates intelligent improvement. Seek feedback early and often from people who understand the area you are pursuing. Honest critique shortens the path to competence because it points directly to blind spots. Create opportunities for critique, such as submitting work to experienced peers, joining study groups, or asking specific mentors for short, focused feedback. Use constraints to increase creativity and efficiency in practice. Limit time or resources for a particular exercise to force better decisions and clearer priorities. Constraints reduce the tendency to overcomplicate and highlight the most important elements of a problem or task. Working within constraints trains the mind to produce useful results under pressure. Practice sustained curiosity by asking high-quality questions whenever you study. Questions such as, what is the simplest form of this idea? Why does this approach fail in certain cases? And how would I teach this to a beginner? Guide exploration and deepen understanding. Curiosity directed by precise questions is more productive than unfocused interest. Create a balance between breadth and depth across months. While 90 days of focused, deep work produces visible improvement, pick subsequent periods to explore adjacent areas that broaden your perspective. Rotating between concentrated depth and strategic breadth builds both skill and context, so you can apply ideas in varied settings. Protect learning time from low-value activities. Replace aimless, scrolling, passive entertainment, or casual multitasking during your growth window with single-minded practice. Small environmental edits, such as a dedicated study space, a ready notebook, and minimal distractions, dramatically improve the quality of your sessions. Develop mental endurance by practicing concentration gradually. Start with shorter, focused intervals and extend them week by week. Strengthening attention is a form of fitness that directly improves learning speed and retention. As your concentration improves, you will notice deeper insights and more efficient progress. Leverage technology selectively. Use useful tools for spaced repetition, note organization, and focused reading, but avoid letting tools become a substitute for effort. Tools support repeated, disciplined practice, not replace it. Choose tools that simplify retrieval and reduce friction in organizing what matters. Connect learning to a meaningful project so the work feels purposeful, not abstract. Projects convert isolated skills into visible outcomes and provide natural deadlines and standards of quality. Project-based learning increases engagement and ensures you are building capability that actually matters. Commit to a minimum daily practice, even on low-energy days. When energy is limited, perform the smallest useful action that preserves the habit and keeps momentum alive. The act of maintaining the practice during difficult days prevents the habit from dissolving and keeps confidence steady. Track progress with simple metrics that reflect genuine improvement rather than activity alone. Instead of counting hours spent, measure specific outputs, such as problems solved, pages summarized, or projects advanced. Metrics should inform decisions, not punish effort. Use them to adjust methods and focus where they produce the greatest return. Find at least one accountability partner or group. Public commitments and regular check-ins increase follow-through and create external pressure to continue when internal motivation wanes. Choose someone who shares similar standards and who will provide honest encouragement rather than vague praise. Practice humility in learning by embracing the beginner mindset regularly. Accept that initial competence will feel clumsy and that progress requires repetition and correction. Humility speeds learning because it opens the mind to revision and continuous feedback. End each study session with one clear, actionable next step. Before you stop, decide the very next small move you will take when you return. This removes startup resistance and allows each session to begin with focused momentum rather than reorientation. For the next 90 days, adopt this structured approach and guard it fiercely. Daily investment in skill and understanding compounds into capabilities that will change the trajectory of your life. The person who reads more than others is not necessarily wiser, but the person who applies tests and refines knowledge will become more capable and confident. Make growth non-negotiable and treat learning time as the most valuable appointment with your future self. Protect it, apply it, and refine it, and over months, you will find your abilities increased, your thinking clearer, and your options wider, because you chose to invest consistently in your own improvement. Chapter 80: Enhance relationships by communicating clearly and listening deeply. Speak with honesty and listen with full attention if you want relationships to become stronger and more meaningful over time. Healthy relationships grow when communication carries clarity, respect, and patience. Many conflicts do not begin because people intend harm, but because messages are delivered poorly or heard without understanding. Learning to communicate clearly while listening deeply is one of the most valuable life skills you can develop. This skill protects emotional harmony and builds trust inside both personal and professional connections. Start by speaking with simple and direct language. Do not hide meaning inside complicated explanations or emotional pressure. State your thought or need in a way that another person can easily understand. People respond better when the message is clear rather than when they must guess your intention. Ambiguity often creates unnecessary misunderstanding and emotional distance. Pay attention to timing when you want to discuss important matters. Difficult conversations are easier when both people are reasonably calm and not distracted by urgency or fatigue. Choose a moment when the other person is available to listen rather than when they are rushing somewhere or dealing with stress. Respect for timing shows respect for the person and increases the chance of meaningful conversation. Listen without interrupting when someone is speaking. Many people prepare their response while the other person is still talking, which reduces real understanding. Instead, focus your attention completely on the speaker's words, tone, and emotional signals. Listening is not only hearing information, but also trying to understand the intention behind the message. Practice reflecting back what you heard before responding. You can briefly summarize the other person's idea and ask whether your understanding is correct. This small habit prevents misinterpretation and shows that you value the speaker's perspective. People feel respected when they know their words are carefully considered. Control emotional reactions during disagreement. If a conversation becomes tense, slow your breathing and reduce the speed of your speech. Avoid raising your voice or using language that attacks the character of the other person. Focus on the specific problem rather than personal criticism. Attack the issue, not the individual. Use I statements when expressing feelings or concerns. Instead of saying "you always ignore me," say "I feel hurt when I do not receive a response because I value communication." This approach reduces defensiveness and encourages cooperative discussion. People are more willing to listen when they do not feel accused. Ask open-ended questions to encourage deeper understanding. Questions such as "How did you feel about that?" or "What do you think would be a good solution?" invite meaningful conversation. Avoid questions that only require yes or no answers when you want richer information. Show appreciation frequently, even for small positive actions. Recognition strengthens connection and encourages more positive behavior. A simple expression of gratitude can reinforce relationship stability because people naturally respond well to acknowledgement. Avoid storing emotional grievances without discussing them. Silent resentment slowly damages trust and creates invisible distance. If something bothers you, communicate it respectfully and early rather than allowing frustration to accumulate inside your mind. Practice patience when others are expressing themselves imperfectly. Not everyone communicates with the same clarity or confidence. Some people need time to organize their thoughts before speaking. Give them space to complete their message without rushing them or finishing their sentences. Learn to read nonverbal communication, such as facial expression, posture, and tone of voice. Sometimes emotional meaning is carried more strongly through behavior than words. Observing these signals helps you respond appropriately and avoid misunderstanding. Set boundaries clearly but kindly. Boundaries are not walls that push people away, but guidelines that protect mutual respect. Explain what you are comfortable with and what you cannot accept. When boundaries are communicated early and respectfully, relationships become more stable and predictable. Avoid reacting to messages immediately when you feel emotionally triggered. If a message makes you angry or upset, pause before replying. Give yourself a short reflection period so your response comes from rational thinking rather than emotional impulse. Practice empathy by imagining the situation from the other person's perspective. You do not need to agree with them, but understanding their experience helps reduce conflict. Empathy creates emotional connection even during disagreement. Speak honestly but choose words carefully. Truth delivered with harsh language can damage relationships, even if the intention is good. Combine honesty with kindness, so your message remains clear while preserving respect. Maintain consistency between your words and actions. Trust grows when people see that your behavior matches your promises. Reliability is more important than occasional impressive actions because long-term relationships are built on predictable character. Resolve conflicts with the goal of understanding rather than winning. When communication becomes a competition, both sides often lose emotional connection. Focus on finding a solution that respects the needs of everyone involved. Give others opportunity to express their thoughts completely. Do not rush to respond immediately after they finish speaking. Pause for a moment and consider what was said before speaking your own view. This small pause communicates maturity and emotional control. Avoid bringing unrelated past events into current discussions. Mixing old conflicts with new problems increases confusion and emotional tension. Focus on the specific issue that needs resolution. Express emotional needs clearly instead of expecting others to guess them. People cannot read your mind. If you need support, attention, or reassurance, state it respectfully and directly. Use respectful tone even during disagreement. Tone influences how messages are received more than word choice alone. Calm, respectful tone encourages cooperation, while aggressive tone triggers defensive behavior. Show interest in the lives and experiences of people you value. Ask about their day, their goals, or their concerns. Genuine interest strengthens emotional bonds and creates deeper connection. Accept that misunderstandings will occasionally happen even with good communication. Perfection is not required for healthy relationships. What matters is the willingness to repair connection after conflict occurs. Practice forgiveness when mistakes are not intentional. Holding resentment for small errors slowly damages emotional warmth inside relationships. Forgiveness does not mean ignoring problems, but choosing to release unnecessary emotional weight. Spend time nurturing important relationships rather than only using communication during moments of need. Regular positive interaction builds emotional stability and trust. Reflect periodically on how your communication style affects others. Ask whether people feel heard, respected, and comfortable speaking with you. Honest reflection helps continuous improvement. Remember that strong relationships are built through repeated moments of listening, understanding, patience, and respect. One good conversation is not enough to sustain connection. Consistent behavior over time creates emotional security. Over the next 90 days, practice one improvement in communication each day. It may be listening a little longer, speaking more clearly, expressing appreciation, or controlling reaction during disagreement. Small daily adjustments will slowly reshape how people experience interacting with you. Choose understanding before judgment, patience before reaction, and clarity before emotional expression. When communication is guided by these principles, relationships grow stronger and become sources of stability and meaning in your life. Chapter 90. Boost health through consistent exercise and mindful nutrition. Take control of your health today and treat every choice as an investment in the life you want to lead. Physical strength and nourishing food are not prizes reserved for a few. They are the result of steady behavior repeated with intention. The goal is not perfection, but reliable effort that becomes a normal part of each day. When movement and mindful eating become routine, your energy rises, your clarity improves, and your ability to handle stress increases. This chapter gives clear steps you can apply now to build fitness and nutrition habits that last. Decide on simple, measurable goals for the next 90 days that matter to your daily life. Choose practical targets, such as walking 5,000 to 10,000 steps, daily completing 3 weekly strength sessions, or eating a serving of vegetables with every main meal. Specific goals reduce guesswork and make it easier to plan actions that actually produce change. Design a weekly movement plan that balances cardiovascular work, strength training, and mobility practice. A manageable template is 3 short strength workouts, 30 to 40 minutes long, 2 cardio sessions of moderate intensity, and daily brief mobility or stretching. Strength sessions can use body weight or simple weights and focus on compound movements like squats, presses, hip hinges, and rows. Cardio can be brisk walking, cycling, or stairs, depending on your preference and joint health. Mobility can be 10 minutes of focused joint work or dynamic stretching. This balance builds resilience and reduces injury risk. Use progressive improvement rather than dramatic change. If you are new to training, perform easier versions of exercises and increase load volume or intensity slowly. Add a small amount of weight, extra repetitions, or an extra set every 1 to 2 weeks. Gradual progression prevents burnout and increases the chance that you will still be training months from now. Choose exercises that are practical and transferable to daily life. Strengthens that replicate useful actions such as lifting, carrying, pushing, and pulling make daily tasks easier and reduce long-term injury risk. Focus on movement quality more than heavy numbers at first. Proper form improves longevity and produces better long-term gains than shortcuts. Schedule exercise sessions in your calendar and treat them like non-negotiable appointments. Place the most demanding strength session in the part of the day when your energy is highest. Shorter sessions are preferable to cancelled long ones, so plan for 30 to 40-minute blocks and protect that time. If schedule interruptions occur, have a reliable shorter fallback such as a 15-minute bodyweight circuit you can do with no equipment. Build a simple routine to warm up and cool down. A warm-up prepares your nervous system and muscles with 5 to 10 minutes of movement and light mobility. A brief cool down of walking and stretching helps recovery and reduces tightness. These small rituals improve consistency and reduce soreness over time. Hydration matters as a baseline for energy and recovery. Drink water regularly throughout the day and aim to respond to thirst rather than forcing extremes. If your workday is long, keep a refillable bottle within reach and sip consistently. A practical rule is to drink a glass of water before each meal to support digestion and to maintain steady fluid intake. Focus on protein and vegetables as daily pillars of nutrition. Aim to include a clinically reasonable portion of protein at each main meal, such as eggs, fish, poultry, legumes, or dairy, and pair it with colorful vegetables. Lean protein supports muscle repair and metabolic health, while vegetables provide fiber, micronutrients, and steady energy. These 2 pillars form a simple framework that is easy to follow and produces large benefits. Practice mindful eating to improve digestion and reduce overeating. Slow down during meals, put utensils down between bites, and avoid eating while distracted by screens. Pay attention to hunger and fullness signals and stop at a comfortable level, rather than continuing to clear the plate by habit. Eating intentionally helps you enjoy food more and reduces the habit of emotional or mindless consumption. Plan meals simply and consistently so decision fatigue does not undermine progress. Create a small set of go-to breakfasts, lunches, dinners, and snacks that combine protein, vegetables, and healthy fats. Batch cook portions if it saves time, then portion them into ready-to-eat containers. Simplicity increases adherence because it removes daily uncertainty. Limit added sugars and ultra-processed foods that cause energy crashes and inflammation. Replace sugary drinks and snacks with whole foods and natural options such as fruit, nuts, yogurt, or whole grains. Small substitutions each day reduce cumulative harm and improve energy without turning each meal into a battle. Use a basic tracking method to keep you honest without creating obsession. Track workouts, steps, sleep hours, and whether you included protein and vegetables at meals. A simple checklist is often more sustainable than complex apps. Review weekly to see patterns and make small adjustments where needed. Sleep is non-negotiable for recovery, performance, and mental clarity. Aim for a consistent bedtime and wake time and protect at least 7 hours of quality rest when possible. Create a wind-down routine that reduces screen time, bright lights, and stimulants in the hour before sleep. Consistent sleep improves appetite regulation and workout recovery. Include rest and deload weeks in your plan to prevent injury and mental fatigue. Every 4 to 6 weeks, reduce training volume and intensity for a brief period. The body adapts during rest and you will return stronger. These scheduled pauses are a strategic part of progress, not a sign of failure. Adopt a practical approach to supplements. Most needs are met through food, but consider basic supplementation when deficiencies are likely, such as vitamin D, omega-3 fatty acids, or a simple multivitamin after checking with a healthcare professional. Use supplements to fill gaps, not replace solid eating habits. Prepare for busy or travel days with portable options. Keep a small kit of protein bars, nuts, seeds, and canned or poached fish or legumes. When routine breaks down, having healthy portable choices reduces the chances of poor decisions. Planning ahead keeps the habit intact across variable circumstances. Use resistance or load that challenges you while allowing safe completion of sets. The right intensity is hard enough that the last 2 to 3 repetitions are demanding, but not impossible. This level of effort stimulates adaptation and strength gains without excessive risk. Practice mindful portion control and prefer whole grains and legumes for sustained energy. Replace refined carbohydrates with whole versions such as brown rice, oats, and whole grain bread. These foods provide lasting fuel and steady glucose levels, which supports both physical and cognitive performance. Measure progress with functional markers, not just scales. Notice increases in how many flights of stairs you can climb carrying weight, how easily you lift groceries, or how long you can walk comfortably. Functional improvements reflect real-life benefits and sustain motivation better than transient numbers. Build recovery habits that include gentle movement on rest days. Walking, light cycling, or mobility routines increase circulation and speed recovery. Active recovery keeps the body limber and reduces soreness without taxing energy reserves. Practice regular meal timing and avoid long, unpredictable fasting unless medically advised and planned. Consistent meal timing supports metabolic stability and helps regulate energy for training sessions. If intermittent fasting is desired, research it carefully and monitor how your body responds. Create non-negotiable boundaries around alcohol consumption, because excess drinking impairs recovery, sleep, and metabolic function. If alcohol is part of social life, limit frequency and amount, and always prioritize hydration and a nutritious meal when drinking. Use social support and accountability to maintain consistency. Train with a friend, join a class, or share simple daily check-ins with someone who will encourage you. Positive social pressure increases follow-through and makes training more enjoyable. Educate yourself on form and basic movement mechanics to reduce the chance of injury. Short video lessons, professional coaching, or a few initial sessions with a qualified trainer provide technique foundations that pay off in longevity and comfort. Prepare for relapse and treat it as information, not final defeat. If you have a week of poor choices, analyze what triggered the shift, adjust one practical element, and resume without shame. Recovery is a pattern of realignment rather than a moral judgment. Commit to adjustments based on how your body responds. If chronic pain or a medical condition exists, consult a professional before starting new intense routines and prioritize movements that respect your limitations. Adaptation and safety ensure long-term consistency. Finish each week by noting one success and one practical change for the next week. This simple ritual keeps direction clear and avoids piling on too many adjustments at once. Small iterative improvements compound into meaningful change over months. Protect these practices for 90 days and observe how energy, sleep, movement, ability, and mood change. The compound effect of consistent exercise and mindful nutrition creates a more capable body, a clearer mind, and a steadier foundation for everything else you want to accomplish. Chapter 1. Commit to reflection and adjust actions for lasting change. Start today by making honest reflection a non-negotiable habit, and change your actions based on what the facts tell you. Reflection without consequences is useless thinking. The purpose of looking back is not to relive mistakes or to praise every effort, but to extract clear lessons that inform how you act next. When review becomes routine, you stop repeating patterns that waste time and energy. This chapter gives practical routines and exact questions to ask, so reflection reliably improves behavior rather than becoming another task that feels good but changes nothing. Close each day with 3 short written items that take no more than 5 minutes. First, note one thing you completed that moved a plan forward. Second, identify one specific obstacle that slowed progress. Third, choose a single concrete next step for tomorrow. These 3 items create a tight feedback loop that keeps decisions current and prevents the accumulation of vague to-do lists. The habit of finishing days with this short ritual trains the habit of course correction. Set a weekly review appointment of 20 to 30 minutes and protect it on your calendar. During that time, look at the last 7 daily notes and answer focused questions such as what pattern repeated, what activity produced the most useful result, and what one change will improve next week. Make one small operational adjustment rather than a long list of aspirational promises. Incremental refinements are easier to execute and reveal which changes actually matter. Use measurable indicators connected to desired outcomes, not vague impressions. For work-related goals, count delivered items or milestones. For health, track minutes of activity, sleep hours, or servings of nutritious food. For learning, record problems solved or practice sessions completed. Replace fluffy progress descriptions with numbers that require discipline to produce, and that clarify if your current approach is working. Run short experiments instead of flipping major habits without testing. Define a clear hypothesis, such as if I wake 30 minutes earlier, then I will complete focused work 3 times per week. Try the change for 2 weeks, measure the result, and decide whether to keep, refine, or discard it. This approach reduces wasted effort and speeds up discovery, because it treats improvement like a practical trial, not a moral failure. If something does not work, limit experiments to 1 variable at a time so you can see cause and effect. When multiple changes happen simultaneously, you will not know which one produced the result. Isolate adjustments to learn quickly. When an experiment succeeds, scale it gradually. When it fails, extract the lesson and move on without harsh self-blame. Create specific stop rules for routines that are not producing results. Decide in advance how long you will persist before evaluating and what metrics will determine success. A rule such as review progress after 30 days and continue only if completion rate is above 60% reduces emotional stovepiping and creates objective standards for persistence. Keep a simple learning log where you write short entries describing what you tried, what happened, and what you will do differently. Use a plain format such as date, action, result, lesson. Over time, this log becomes a searchable record of which methods worked and which did not. When you are tempted to repeat an old approach, check the log first so you do not waste energy repeating known failures. Adopt the habit of asking 3 precise reflective questions after any meaningful action. What did I expect? What actually happened? What exact change will I make next time? Answers should be brief and operational. The discipline of answering these questions converts subjective impressions into usable directives for immediate next steps. Prioritize reflection on process, not only on outcomes. Good systems produce reliable outcomes over time. When you focus only on results, you might miss the reason a process needs adjustment. Inspect the steps you took and evaluate whether they were clear, consistent, and repeatable. Good processes reduce friction and make future reflection more productive. Use time audits occasionally to discover where attention is leaking. Track how you spend your hours for 3 typical days and examine patterns honestly. Compare committed priorities to actual time spent and identify mismatches. Time audits reveal hidden drains such as low-value meetings, excessive email, or passive screen time, and give you clear targets for elimination. Create an external accountability mechanism for larger adjustments. Share a measurable goal and the evaluation timeline with a trusted person who will check in and ask for your review notes. External review forces clarity and reduces the temptation to rationalize lack of progress. Choose someone who will question kindly and hold you to the standards you set for yourself. Guard against analysis paralysis by limiting the number of changes you allow per review cycle. Too many simultaneous tweaks produce decision fatigue and reduce execution. Pick 1 or 2 improvements to test and keep the rest on a future list. Focused execution outperforms scattered good intentions. Keep both leading and lagging indicators in your monitoring system. Leading indicators such as hours practiced or habits completed signal future progress, while lagging indicators such as revenue or weight change confirm long-term results. Use the leading measures to adjust quickly and the lagging measures to validate whether the strategy is effective over time. Make vulnerability a source of learning rather than shame. When a goal fails, write a factual account of what happened without moralizing language. Analyze the external factors and the decisions you made and identify one procedural change. Treat failure as a prompt for technical refinement, not as evidence of personal inadequacy. Create a clear archive of commitments and outcomes so you can review longer trajectories every quarter. Quarterly reviews should compare goals with actual results, note persistent obstacles, and define the top priorities for the next period. Quarterly reflection prevents short-term distraction from derailing meaningful multi-month aims. Use simple visualization of progress, such as a completion checklist or a concise spreadsheet that shows trends. Visual clarity reduces cognitive load when deciding what to change. A clean visual record makes it obvious when progress stalls and where interventions should be applied. Practice gratitude during reflection by listing one thing that went better than expected even in difficult periods. This balances honest critique with recognition of adaptive behavior and helps maintain motivation without slipping into denial of reality. Develop a habit of retiring actions that no longer serve you. If a routine consistently fails to deliver reasonable return after a fair test, remove it and free the space for more useful experiments. Retirement is not a defeat. It is a deliberate choice to allocate limited time to the highest value activities. Schedule deliberate pauses to reflect on emotional responses to progress or setbacks. Emotions inform but should not dictate strategy. Write down how a result made you feel and then separate that emotional note from the factual assessment. Use both pieces to decide how you will behave next. Create a default action for ambiguous situations to reduce indecision. Decide ahead what small step you will take when uncertain, such as work for 20 minutes on the most important task or call one person for advice. Default actions convert uncertainty into movement and prevent wasted time. Hold fast to integrity in your reflections by recording not just successes, but also excuses and rationalizations you used. Being honest about how you avoid responsibility is uncomfortable but critical. Document the avoidance pattern and design a small accountability intervention to counteract it. End each month by choosing one habit to deepen for the following month and one habit to pause or remove. This keeps the improvement pipeline active without overloading capacity. Rotating focus prevents stagnation and ensures the strongest practices receive sustained attention. Treat reflection as a muscle that strengthens with repetition. At first it may feel awkward to review honestly and make decisive adjustments. Over weeks the rhythm becomes intuitive and choices become clearer. Persist through the initial discomfort because disciplined review leads to smarter action. Commit to a 90-day cycle of testing, adjusting, and scaling. Use the end of each cycle to assess whether the aggregated changes deserve continuation, expansion, or replacement. Quarterly iterations provide a cadence for meaningful progress and for preventing endless tinkering. Decide now to record your first reflection tonight and to carry this practice forward with precise questions, measurable indicators, and a willingness to change quickly based on evidence. Accuracy in review creates better actions, and better actions create predictable improvement in the life you choose to build.